Hey Keith, first of all, sorry for the wonky angle. I've got to have my headphones in because otherwise I feel a bit weird, even though everyone else can hear me anyway. So, the Koine Greek noun system. The Koine Greek noun system is incredibly different to the way in which we use nouns in English, which makes it a rather complicated way to understand what sentences actually mean in Greek. In English, we use nouns in any type of expression we say them in, and the nouns stand in relationship to the words around them. And the word order then determines the meaning of what we want to convey. For example, Keith stabs Sam has the complete opposite meaning to Sam stabs Keith, yet it's exactly the same words. And in English, how the verb affects nouns is dependent on word order. The subject precedes the verb and the object follows it. However, Greek gets interesting because word order does not have the same function in Greek as it does in English. So grammatical relationships are not dependent on word order, rather are indicated by particular endings or suffixes, as these are known as. And these suffixes are applied to the nouns to convey the meaning of the noun within that particular phrase or sentence. These suffixes are also then applied in what we call different cases in order to understand the subject and the object of these sentences and to then make sense of these sentences. The biggest thing we have to understand with this is that the subject won't always be found before the verb, neither will the object always be found after the verb, which it often very much is the case in English if you speak proper English, which I do because I'm from England. In Greek, it's the case form that decides what is the subject and what is the object of the sentence rather than the order the words are placed in, which makes it very confusing for us to originally begin understanding what Greek sentences mean, which is, well, that's how I found it anyway. But Greek has 4 cases, and understanding all 4 is essential to being able to translate Greek. The 4 cases are the nominative, the genitive, the dative, and the accusative. The nominative represents the subject. So in the sentence, Keith kills Sam after he stabs him. Keith is the subject. The genitive represents the possessor, and in English is often preceded by a preposition. For example, the kindness of Sam. Of is the preposition. The dative represents the indirect object. For example, he gave gifts to Sam for doing a great video. And Sam is the indirect object in that sentence. And finally, the accusative represents the object. For example, in the sentence, Sam stabs Keith. Keith is now the object and Sam is the subject. So they are the 4 cases. And the fun doesn't end there when it comes to Greek nouns, because Greek nouns also have a gender form which they take on. And non-gender specific nouns very commonly take on masculine and feminine gender, which is different to English, where words often only take natural gender, like man is masculine, girl is seen as feminine, and car or whatever, pretty much anything else is seen as neuter, as when referring to these you say he for a man, she for a girl, and it for a car or any other object or noun respectively. Whereas in Greek it's almost seemingly quite random as to what noun takes on what gender, apart from the words similar to English which actually do take on the natural gender specific words. And the gender of words can be worked out, and the gender of nouns can often be worked out through the ending in most instances. So now we know about case and gender. The final thing to put all this together is to understand the function, and to understand the function of a noun in a sentence is to understand declensions. Greek nouns can be grouped together according to the manner in which their endings change. These changes indicate both the case and whether it's singular or plural. Nouns with the same pattern of endings are called declensions. There's 3 basic declensions in Greek, and we've learned about 2 so far, I believe, the first and second declensions. And the second declension is the most common, and the nouns are either genuinely masculine or feminine, masculine or neuter, sorry, with a couple of feminine ones thrown in there just to make things a bit fun. And the second most common type is nouns of the first declension, in which there's 5 paradigms, 3 are feminine and 2 are masculine. And knowing these paradigms is essential to understanding the real function of a noun and sentence, as is through the paradigm that we find out the case, and obviously the gender. But the case is the most important thing when it comes to nouns and understanding how nouns work, and the meaning they have in sentences in Greek. And it's just an incredibly different thing to get your head around, compared to English nouns and how we use those in sentences. But I like it because there is, once you understand it, a fair bit of logic and sense behind it all. And so with hard work, you can get your head around it, which is very much what I was at, and feel like I'm getting a lot better at that. And I've gone a little bit over time, but I did do a silly introduction. But enjoy. Thanks, Keith.